Welcome to Hatha. Thank you so much for joining me today. For those who are a little newer to me, I'm Carrie Rice, owner here at Sift Yoga. And we're going to open today's Hatha practice with a little reading from our Power Wisdom cards. So our wisdom cards here today from Louise Hay. Today's opening intention says, I love myself totally and in the now. I am gentle, kind, and comforting to my inner child as we uncover and release the old negative messages within us. Let's start today's practice back on your back. So take your time to move there on the mat. And let's love ourselves totally in the now. Today, that is about being present. That's about being on your mat. Not only physically here, but let's bring our minds here and do that easy through the sound and the movements of your breath. All right, resting on your back. So give yourself some space here as you rest on the floor. Maybe you even extend your arms up overhead or create a little bit of space between your feet. Toes might point, body gets nice and long on the mat. And we allow for that breath to continue to be simple and flowing, gradually in through the nose, and maybe easy out through the mouth. Start to add just a little bit of basic movement. If your arms have been high above your head, we're going to bring the elbows down, put your arms in more of a cactus shape, resting on the earth. And as I come into that shape, I often need to push my head kind of into the ground and lift the shoulder blades out from underneath of me, just kind of rocking back and forth until those shoulder blades settle back down into the earth. On your inhale breath, see if you can reach your right hand up over your head, but keep that left arm in a cactus shape. Bring that right arm back down to a cactus shape. Reach the left arm up over your head. Settle that left arm down, back to cactus. Head sways a little bit right and left. And then we'll just start to bend the knees. Bring the knees up the mat. Let them point towards the sky. Your elbows are going to come down alongside your body. And then just point your fingertips up towards the sky. You're setting yourself for a bridge pose. So those heels are going to walk as close as you feel comfortable to the glutes. Fingertips pointing up. As you feel ready, and inhale, lift those hips up off the ground. Fingers pointing up towards the ceiling. Really allowing for a little more space here to open between the shoulder blades. As we push power into the elbows, allowing those inner thighs to kind of move just a little bit towards one another. And then you're going to drop the hands down to earth, lift the heels, and then slowly lower down one vertebra at a time. You might even bring your hands to your belly and let your hands just kind of walk down your spine as we slowly lower all of this down into the earth. Heels are the last thing to hit. Once you get there, take those knees into the chest, bring the hands to the front to the kneecaps, and just give yourself a little rocking from side to side, maybe even taking circular motion with those knees. And then we'll keep the right knee hugged in nice and close. See if we can extend this left leg maybe long down the mat. Again, pointing and flexing the toes if that feels good in the body. And then just invite this right knee, the one you've got hugged in so close, slowly over towards the left edge of your mat, taking a reclined spinal twist. Your arms might stretch out into a T shape if that feels good, or you might keep this a little softer with hands closer to the body. Perfect. Ease this back to center, knee coming back to the center of your mat. And then we'll slide the left foot up the mat, extend the right foot high to the sky, point and flex the toes, roll that ankle. And then option here to let the hands kind of climb up this leg, maybe a little higher, closer to the ankle. You might add a little bend in the arms as you pull the navel towards your thigh, your forehead towards your shin. And then beautiful work. Just let that release. I'm going to bend this knee and bring right ankle over towards my left knee. Make a little pigeon on my back or a figure 4 shape, and then just kind of rock that right and left. If you'd like to bring the left foot up off the floor, feel free. Hands might move so that one goes in between the opening, other goes around the outer edge of the thigh. You guys are familiar with that shape, that figure 4 shape, so just take your time. Rocking it around if that feels good. And then we'll drop this left foot back to the ground. Reach your hands towards this right leg again and lift it back up to the sky. Maybe your forehead comes up again for one more bigger stretch. Some of you might be reaching for big toe. Others might be able to extend this leg long. That's a really big shape though. So just listen to your own body and where you are this morning. Softening from that, both knees coming into the chest, head settles back to the ground, and just kind of rock these knees around again. We're going to repeat all those stretches similar on the other side. So dropping this right knee down, left knee hugs into the chest. You might stay right here or extend this leg long. And then just as we did, take it over and across the body, reaching that arm maybe to a T shape. Take your time, start to bring this knee back to center. You might choose to slide the opposite foot up the mat to make yourself a little kickstand, hands flipping to the back of the thigh, point and flex toes, roll around ankle. Hands may even choose to slide up this leg as we did on the other side. Now, it's not uncommon to feel one side a little different than the other. Maybe you've got a little more flexibility on the right leg, maybe a little more on the left leg. You can make those kind of calm, quiet observations, but let's not really dwell on why we're different on either side. Just observe. All right, so this foot that's been lifted to the sky, just take your time, start to bend that knee, head's gonna come back down to earth. Take yourself into your version of figure 4. So again, this can stay on the floor and you can just kind of rock around, or you can welcome that right foot up off the ground. Switch your grip, grab between the opening there around the outer edges of the knee, roll the ankles, point and flex the toes. And then we'll start to drop that right foot back down. Hands will reach for this left leg so that we can lift it back up. Chest might come up off the earth to bring the nose a little closer towards that knee or shin. Again, you can keep this long, or you can let the opposite leg go out, maybe make kind of a spider pose, even pushing through the heel of that other leg. And then just take your time, ease this back down, both knees into chest, relax your shoulders and your neck, especially if you put any kind of discomfort in the neck trying to reach for that ankle or those toes. And then we'll just start to move ourselves up to seat. So a little rock and roll until you feel you've got that spine nice and lifted. I'm going to turn just so I can see a little better. But hands reach out to the sides of the body. Let the spine get nice and tall. And just ground and root through the tip of your tail. Inhale, breath. Lifts the left hand up to the sky. Head over towards the right side of the mat. Inhale, lift this back up. Let's go the other way. Opposite arm tips up, reaches over. Back up nice and tall. Switch it one more time, just kind of windmilling from one side to the other. Perfect. Both hands are going to lift to the sky. This time, as you exhale, turn chest to the right, but let the arms open out into kind of a low V shape. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale up. Exhale out. Inhale up. Exhale out. Perfect. Next natural inhale, bring these hands up nice and tall, and then just let them settle in towards your heart. Lace the fingers together, and then just press them straight forward up your mat. Maybe even give yourself a little tick to the right and to the left. Hands will move in towards the heart when you feel ready, and then let them reach around back. Maybe they lace, maybe they just rest with hands down on the mat. If you like to, you can lift your chin up towards the ceiling and open the chest and heart. Perfect. Just bring that head back to center. Easy walking hands back forward. We're going to just continue to walk these hands until they start to reach out in front of us, and we can lay a little bit more across our lap. Now, of course, if this isn't comfortable in a seated crisscross, you can certainly open the legs to more of a seated straddle if that feels better to you, and let your hands reach out into the center of your stance. One more nice breath here. Perfect. Start to walk those hands back in. If you were in straddle, bring the feet more in underneath of you. And then we're going to shift into a tabletop pose. So maybe legs sweep around side, or maybe you just kind of roll over those knees and start looking for table. For tabletop, we're going to put wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, but feel free to make any kind of wardrobe adjustments that you might need. And just take your time to find cat-cow, belly dropping down towards the earth on your inhale breath, tail lift, chin lift. Exhale breath, we've got a rounded back with a rounded spine. Just take your time, just a few more of those. Belly down, back arch. Belly down, back arch. The next time you hit that angry cat spine, just start to sit your hips back onto your heels, walk your hands forward, maybe even lift your elbows up off the earth. And let the breath just be kind of heavy down onto the mat. You're in the safety of your own home, so feel free to fully exhale. Let go of the tensions you're holding on to, not only physically, but anything that might be just weighing on your mind. All right, as you feel ready, inhale, breath brings us back up looking for a table. Right foot's gonna step forward towards our right hand. We're gonna start to position ourselves in a kneeling lunge. So if you need to reach for a blanket or something to put underneath that knee, feel free. And let the hands come up nice and tall. As you feel ready, your inhale breath is going to reach hands up nice and tall. Exhale breath, you're just going to sweep these arms right alongside the body and kind of tuck the elbows just behind you. So your inhale sweeps them forward and up, and your exhale keeps them real close to the body, adding a little bend in the elbows when they reach back. Last one. From here, just let the elbows slide forward, hands go to prayer, and then take those prayer hands just on the outer edge of that front knee. Now you can stay right here, just gazing over to that side wall, or you can open the arms a little wider, take a deeper version of the twist. Now you can sit as much as you'd like into that front knee because we have our back knee grounded on the earth. Hands come back down, let them go together, bring them forward towards your heart. And then just fold these hands down towards the earth, toes curl under on your back foot, lift your back knee. Now this is a great place to invite in a set of blocks. If you have those handy, they can certainly go underneath the hands and stay in this shape for another round of breath. The spine is nice and long. We're pulling out through the crown of the head. We've got lots of length in that back leg. Beautiful. Back knee drops to ground. Front foot steps back. Child's pose. Hands on blocks if that feels good to you, just for a breath. And then we'll rotate back up and forward so that we bring our left foot forward to the front of the mat. Start looking for the same low lunge on the left side. Hands might reach. Relax those shoulders, get them down from your ears. Gaze is straight forward. Exhale, elbows sweep alongside the body. Little pinch. And then sweep them back up. 2 more, just like that. So notice how fluid and easy your movement is. Notice how it's matching with your breath. Hands coming to prayer now. And then just to the outer edge of that knee, we'll take our twist. Now you can stay right there in that twist, or you can fly open a little wider with your hands. Watching that front knee, it might want to kind of splay out one way or the other to see if you can keep it centered with that second toe. Hands come back together, find prayer at the heart. And then we're going to sweep them forward, looking for blocks or just hands on the earth. Toes curl under, back knee lifts as we look for strength in that back leg. Now allow the crown of your head to really pull towards the front edge of your mat, to really focus on the alignment of the spine here as we look for length. Now, if you've been operating with blocks this time, it might be nice to flip those onto their flattest sides. If you're not using blocks, just hang out where you are. Hands move towards the outer edges or the bottom edges of your block. You're going to step this foot back, and we're going to your first downward facing dog of this practice. Now, if that wasn't as graceful as you'd like and you had to stop and drop to your knees, readjust, and then lift your hips up, that's okay. Put yourself in a downward facing dog. Remember, downward facing dog is aimed at looking like an upside down V. The hips are lifted high to the sky. Next natural inhale, start taking slow steps with those feet up towards your hands. If you're using blocks, you can flip these up, put a nice flat spine, exhale, fold. Inhale, reach all the way up to the ceiling in your space. Exhale, take the cactus. Elbows move forward in front of your face. And then just as you exhale again, just think, let those arms come back, and you put yourself into a little bit of a chair pose. Inhale, swing the arms up, still keep a bend in the knees. Exhale, stay in that chair. One more time, stay in your chair. Really activating strong quads. Beautiful. Next time those arms come up, release them high and then fold down and look for your blocks, exhaling on your way to the earth. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Option to step back this time with our right foot, but we're going to keep those right toes up off the earth. If you've been using blocks, you might get your balance with them, but then see if you can graduate either to this front knee or maybe your hands even lift all the way up. This is a crescent pose. It's a big shape. So this lunge can be as wide or as narrow as you'd like. Just keep in mind that your front knee, you can't really see it right now, your front knee should be in line with that ankle or back behind it. All right, let the arms come down, let them swing alongside body just as we did when we were on our knee, kind of tuck between those shoulder blades, bring them back up. We're gonna just do one more just like that. I know this is a big test of balance. Let the hands come together to find prayer, and then they're gonna go to the outer edge of that front knee. Just as we did before, you might fly open. This back knee can always look for refuge by dropping it down to the earth, or we can stay popped up. Hands come back, look for the heart. And then we're just gonna take a big step up towards the front of the mat. So I'm gonna use a little momentum from my arms, lift up, and go straight into a forward fold. Good. Half lift, long spine. Exhale, fold. Big inhale, hands reach up, look up. Exhale, cactus. And then just bring those elbows back out in front of you. Sink to your chair. Arms come back. Arms come forward. Arms come back. This time when they come forward, let them extend and then fold into the earth. Beautiful. Left foot's gonna step back this time, looking for that crescent again. So feel free to use your blocks. Stabilize your pose. Crawl up this front leg. Start thinking about what crescent is about. Balance. Keeping those hips nice and square up the mat. Lots of strengthening happening for this back leg, for the glutes, for the hamstrings, for the front quad, ankles. Arms are up. Soften those elbows right alongside. One more. Hands come to prayer, and then we go to the outside edge of this front knee. Again, lots of attention to detail, making sure that front knee is staying in line with your second toe. Hands can stay at prayer, or they may open. Watch your shoulders, don't pull them into your ears, let them drop back in the sockets where they belong. Back knee can always kiss the earth if that feels too big. Hands start to come back down in together. Back up to your heart. Momentum perhaps with a big swoop. Hands reach up. Take yourself back into a forward fold. Half lifting when the spine feels ready. Folding back to earth. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, release the hands to your heart. And then let's close our eyes. Find just a standing Tadasana, standing mountain pose. Eyes are closed. Spine is tall. Centered through your stance, as well as allowing the breath to bring a feeling of presence, wholeness, centering, grounding. Weight starts to shift to your right foot. And we're going to operate with a little bit of movement and balance again. So the right foot becomes your standing leg on the ground. As you inhale, you'll lift your left knee as well as your right arm up. And then bring it down, let it tap slightly out in front of you. and then we'll do it again. So a little bit of work through the core, lots of stabilization in the hips. Our mind has to work because we're going across the midline and making our body think through that movement. Focus on something that's not moving, so not yourself, which is what just happened to me. Trying to look at myself on screen, looking at you guys. Give yourself one more. And then we'll just ground back to earth. I'm gonna separate my feet about hip distance and just give a little bit of space for my hips. Sometimes I feel a little kink sometimes when I'm really trying to focus on keeping those hips square. And then just plant your feet back in the middle of the mat. This time your left foot is gonna be your standing leg. Your right leg's the one that's going to be doing the lifting, so give yourself space to go the other way. So just as we did before, we lift opposite hand or opposite arm with opposite leg, tapping in front, lifting back up. Again, find yourself something to focus on that's not moving. And give yourself some grace. You might be a little more wobbly on this side than the first side, or maybe this feels more confident. Might be the opposite. Either way, our balance shifts and changes every day. So even if you do this playback later, you might notice you're more steady or more wobbly, depending on what's going on in your world today. All right, finish off. Let's do one more. May not be completely even on both sides, but that's all right. Feet come down, separate us. Maybe you take that same hip circle. That might feel really good in your own body, almost like you're stirring a cake with those hips or bowl of soup. All right, and most of you are at the top of your mat, which is a great place to be, but we're gonna step wide. So I don't care which foot you step back with, whichever makes the most sense on your mat so that maybe you can see or hear me better. And just step nice and wide on the mat. One of the pleasures of teaching this virtually is I don't have to worry about everybody in the room turning different directions and knocking into each other. It's kind of nice. You guys can just do your thing at home. Feet are spread really wide. I've got a slight in-turning of my toes because that sometimes feels really great in my hips when I go to fold towards the earth. We're gonna just take a big forward fold. So hands are lifted strong and tall, maybe a soft, gentle bend in the knees as you fold down between those toes. And unless you have issues with blood pressure, let's just go ahead and really collapse down into the earth. Of course, if you have a block handy, maybe it's up close to the front of the mat and you can reach it, you're certainly welcome to bring a block into the middle of this fold, but it's not required. So if you feel okay with your hands on the ground without using a block, that's good too. My hands are right in the middle of my stance, but they certainly could go to the outer edges of my ankles. I could reach around back of my calves. I could walk my hands underneath of my fold and look to bring the crown of my head down closer to the earth, wherever you feel best. All right, as you feel ready, we're gonna start to walk our hands towards our right foot. Oh, gotta go the other way if I'm gonna do that. Walk your hands towards your right foot. And then we're just gonna spin on those right toes so that we're able to turn completely to the side and drop your back knee. We're gonna do this on both sides. So if you went the other way, that's all right. You're gonna get both legs. Inhale, reach your hands up. Whatever knee is bent, that arm's gonna fall to the side as we reach over with the opposite arm. So this is all about hip flexor, side body, really getting some good opening there. Inhale, bring these hands up. Cartwheel forward towards this front leg. And then we're just gonna see what you can do with your hands. So start walking those, curl the toes under on this back foot. See if we can spin it, kind of walk through the center. A little bit of playfulness today as we kind of walk all over the floor. Hands switching directions. See how I'm kind of spinning on those back toes. Back knee drops to the ground. Now I'm facing the other direction and my hands lift up. Whatever knee is bent, that same arm is going to fall to the side as we reach over with our opposite hand. Beautiful. One more breath here. Inhale, hands reach up. And then that same playfulness, hands will go down towards the earth. We'll start to walk back towards center, maybe lifting knee and spinning the feet back underneath of you. And hands look for the center of the mat. This time, as the hand shifts to the right, we're going to see if we can turn our right toes slightly outward and sink towards that right knee. Maybe your left toes pop like mine are, or maybe this is smaller for you. Maybe you don't go quite so far. You kind of like leave one hand on a block or on the floor and you're just kind of lunging over. Just make sure, really important key part, is that no matter if you're tall or really squatted low, that this knee and that toe are going the same direction. So whether you've put yourself all the way down or you've been a little taller. All right, same playfulness again. Hands start to look for the earth. Lift the hips. It might go good to kind of pause in the middle for a second. Maybe shake your head, yes or no, and then playfully walk those feet over to the other side. Maybe you're taking another lunge or squat. Opposite toes might be popped. Or remember, this can be taller. Hand can be on a block and on the side. If you're at home, you can certainly be putting your hands on furniture. You could have a chair out in front of you or a bed, sofa. You can always get up and walk off your mat and go look for something in space. It might assist in a nice full stretch here of that inner thigh. But just like I kept pointing out before, no matter what, we always want to make sure this knee and those toes match and we're kind of talking to each other. Perfect. Playfully bring hands back towards the earth. Start walking them to the center. And then just as we did before, maybe your toes turn slightly inward. Check your feet to make sure they're kind of drawing a line from one to the other. And then just let that head hang. Now I know those poses didn't gracefully flow from one to the other, but sometimes it's good for us to kind of have a yoga practice where things are kind of chunked up and don't necessarily mesh from one to the next. It allows our muscles a little bit more freedom to find what works for us, as well as getting us slightly out of our comfort zone. It's good for us as well. So let's see if we can start to walk the feet just a step or two in closer to one another. And then I'm going to turn my heels in, but my toes out. Use the next inhale breath to lift my chest, rest my hands on my thighs, and sink. Now I want you to bring your hands to the middle of your stance. Your knees are still bent. As you inhale, you're going to lift to straight legs and arms come up over your head. As you exhale, you'll bend those knees again, letting them talk in the same direction as your toes, and you're just lifting and lowering. Now this is pretty fluid. This probably feels like something you've done before, or maybe have done this exact movement before. So let your body relax into it. If at any point in time you feel like your balance is stable enough that maybe you can close your eyes, or even just soften your gaze. Allow the love to flood the body as we just kind of like float in and out. We feel confident in our feet, the muscles of our legs, the movement of our arms. Last one. Next time you're standing tall, just bring the hands down to your heart and start to heel toe these feet so that they're back in the middle of the mat. I'm going to move this block that I've got out in front of me just so you can see my feet. But we're going to take time for another round of balance. Today's practice has had quite a bit of balance in it, and you guys have handled it like champs. So let's see if we can take these right toes, turn them slightly outward. Your left toes are still pointed straight forward up your mat. As you inhale, the right arm is going to lift up to the sky, and your left arm is going to be low, kind of like a diagonal. All right, let's try that again. This time, though, when we lift that right arm, we're going to lift our left leg up off the earth. So it kind of has a little bit of a superhero look to it. If you made a fist and gazed out over that right arm, that would look like you're trying to fly. Superhero. But you should feel super. You should feel strong. You should feel the lift. I've got a pointed toe on that bottom leg, but it could certainly be flexed if that's where your comfort zone is today. Give yourself one more breath. And then just let everything settle back down. I'm gonna go into ragdoll. I'm gonna bend my knees, let my chest fall forward. Right hand to left elbow, left hand to right elbow. And just enjoy a little sway here. All right, bringing yourself back up to standing, half lift maybe, or just a slow motion roll up of the spine. Back to standing with an inhale breath always. And then just start thinking about these feet again. So for me, that's left toes turning slightly outward. Right toes facing straight forward up my mat. The leg that's turned out, that's the arm that's going to lift. So now that I know the space that I'm in, I'm ready to lift it and test my balance. So again, just as we did before, if you want to add intensity, you can always gaze up towards that left hand. That's going to make that a little bit more difficult. Or you can just gaze straight out in the middle. Your toe can be pointed, your foot can be flexed. Staying lifted through this hip flexor. It's a little different balance shape than we're used to taking, which is good. Helps us kind of mix things up a little bit. Again, loving all parts of the strength your body is showing right now. Beautiful. Let that foot start to move back to earth. Ragdoll it again. This time, maybe you focus a lot on what's going on in your low back. My ragdoll usually feels good with a little bounce or a little sway. If that feels good to you, fantastic. All right, good work today. Just take your time. Let's start to roll up one vertebra at a time, or of course you can half lift if you don't like these slow motion roll ups. Allowing your head to come over spine right at the end. Hands branch out. And if you're not already at the front of your mat, go ahead and step there. We're going to take an inhale breath to lift tall. And exhale breath to fold down towards the earth. Half lift, long spine. Hands reach for the ground, and then we're going to step both feet to the back of the mat. Find yourself in downward facing dog. A nice big stretch for the backside body, really opening up the backs of those legs. Hips are lifted nice and tall. It's a pretty active pose, even though sometimes described as a resting pose. Downward facing dog has a lot of action. Knees slowly start to work their way towards the ground. Shift the hips slightly forward so that your shoulders and wrists are in a good line. I'm going to drop my toes down to the earth and bend those elbows like I've been doing so many times before. Keep those triceps engaged and close and active. Lay down onto your belly. Hands are going to move themselves right here on either sides of your heart, just for a moment. If you feel comfortable letting your forehead come into the ground, feel free. Drop those shoulders down from your ears. Next natural inhale is just a gentle cobra. Push the pelvis into the earth. A little bit of front side opening. Exhale down. Allow your forehead to rest down into the earth, and hands are going to flick back and reach towards your feet. As your next natural inhale comes, keep your head planted, your hands planted, but see if you can lift your toes up off the earth. So I'm pointing really strong through my feet. My pelvis is grounded. My lower body is very active. I'm continuing to fluidly breathe. I'm not holding my breath. And then I'll drop those feet down. Let's see if we can do that with the upper body. Keeping those hands back toward your toes. Inhale, breath lifts the upper body. Hands again are pointing back towards your toes. Balancing right on that belly button, keeping the pelvis grounded. Legs are active. If you kind of squeeze those thighs, keep them active, that does help protect the low back. One more fluid round of breath, and then drop down. Depending on how much energy you have in the tank, option for full body locust here, lifting upper and lower body at the same time. Or if that feels like too much, just bring your hands back forward and take an easy cobra. So either a full body lift, toes and fingers, maybe even lacing the hands behind the back, gaze is forward, balancing right on that belly. Obviously avoiding this pose if there's any reason you shouldn't be laying on your belly. Take your time, lower back into the earth. Hands are going to come forward, make a little pillow for your forehead, bend at the knees, flex the feet, rocking side to side. Let the low back take this as a reset. All right, when you feel ready, I'm going to bring my hands, and you should too, even with about your breastbone. Elbows stay nice and close. Curl the toes under. Just start to push up to your knees. Give yourself either one more down dog, or if the body would rather, child's pose. So either down dog or child. Sinking those hips back towards your heels. Spine is long. Breath is fluid. Perfect. We'll bring our bodies back down, or knees down, bodies up. Start to look for just a classic table. One more cat-cow, belly drops down, inhale breath. Back rounds out, cat pose. And then just come back to a neutral spine. We're going to ease our way onto our seat. Swinging those legs out in front of you. I'm going to turn to face the screen just so it's a little easier for me to see what's going on, but you can be any direction. Hands might lift nice and tall. Exhale, breath might find your belly folding right over your lap. Reaching those hands towards the toes. Spine is long. Breath is easy and fluid. Inhale, breath. Start to come back up to a nice tall chest. And then we're just going to work our way slowly back onto our backs. So similar to how you started. Now, if you have a block handy and you want to take that back into your restful poses we have here at the end, great. If you have a bolster or a blanket or any other props in your space that you want handy as you start to look for Savasana, go ahead. Once you hit your back, put your knees, maybe windshield wiper from right to left. Maybe even let those hands rest on the belly as you cycle through a couple big, full belly breaths. Oftentimes we feel pretty rushed when we hit the earth. We think, oh, we have so many quick little poses we need to get in before she tells us it's time to rest. Today, I don't want you to feel any sensations of hurry, any sensations of rush. So if there's something that's speaking a little louder to you than what I'm asking you to do, listen to that voice. As long as it's calling you to do something safely with your body, feel free to listen to it. I'm going to walk the soles of my feet in a little closer, similar to that bridge pose I took early on. If you have a block, when you lift to the next bridge, you can slide it underneath. If you don't have a block, when you lift to your next bridge, maybe you just put the backs of your hands underneath your tail. So we can either add blocks or hands, or a pillow or a blanket, some other helpful accessory that you might have nearby. It might make sense to start to invite your feet up towards the sky. We did a lot of forward folds today, especially wide leg folds, which don't often find themselves too frequently in our practice. So it might have been nice to be wide on the mat today. But flipping ourselves upside down does other things besides what those forward folds do. So this is always a nice way to get some blood circulating from our feet back towards our hearts. Give a little extra love to your hamstrings. So if this feels achy, you of course can always bend your knees. It might be nice to kind of roll around the ankles or point and flex the toes. You might sweep your head from side to side, or even just stretch the arms up overhead to make kind of an L shape. Sometimes that feels really good too. But like I said, I don't want you to feel any sensations of rush or hurry here. So if as you rest here, you think, I'd like to get a few more poses in, you can certainly come out of this shape at any time and listen to your own physical body, addressing any other final needs it might have. Perfect. As you feel ready, just take your time. Slowly start to bring those knees back in closer to the body. If your hands have been overhead, you might bring them just to assist in slowly letting those feet come down to the earth. You have option for more front body stretching. I know we did locust today, so you may not need this, but if it feels good to stretch the legs long and maybe reach the hands in opposite direction of your toes and get a nice front body stretch, that is always available to you here. Knowing that this can be done with one leg or both legs straight out, or maybe you don't need it at all. That's okay too. As that pose starts to feel complete, the knees will start to walk back in a little closer. Hands may come down on either sides of the hips. And we start adjusting to remove that block out from underneath the back. Let your knees windshield wiper right and left if that makes sense to the spine. You might even pause a little bit with the knees to the right or the knees to the left. But start to feel softer within your facial muscles, letting the muscles along your forehead relax. The muscles around the eyes, cheeks, the chin, It might even make sense to move the soles of the feet towards one another, knees falling out and open, finding bound angle. And just revisiting that same slow, easy, fluid breath you found before today's practice began. If you haven't already done so, start to move into whatever final pose you're going to treat as your Savasana today. Whether that be nice and traditional with legs extended down the mat, maybe hands flipped, the palms face to the sky, shoulders relaxed into the earth. Or maybe you find yourself resting on your right or even your left side, depending on what feels best in your own physical body. Let the sound of my voice pull you back when it's time. So there's no more need to be viewing the screen. Your eyes can be closed and you can just settle in to the love and kindness, the gentleness of these closing moments, allowing you to be present in today's yoga practice. Softening all muscles of the body, allowing everything to just simply shift and settle back into place. Slowly starting to become aware of your breath, allowing your inhales to deepen and your exhales to deepen. Easy, gentle movements invited back into the body. These can be really simple, just opening and closing your hands or wiggling the toes, maybe sweeping the nose back and forth across the ceiling. Perhaps when you're ready, the knees start to bend, the feet walk up the mat, knees move towards chest, rocking around until ultimately we find ourselves perhaps resting on the right hand side, maybe even using your right arm like a pillow. Coming back up to the earth when you're ready. We'll close our eyes and bring hands to heart, palm to palm. Concluding today's class with a simple inhale and exhale. And these final thoughts. Today's is entitled, Getting Too Easily. That which we obtain too easily, we esteem too lightly. Thomas Paine. We value most of the things we work the hardest to get, whether it's a new car we've saved years to buy, or the admiration of someone we knew to be extremely demanding. Yes, we say, we did it. We've accomplished something. This can be a good thing because it encourages us to work hard. But we shouldn't forget to value those things we haven't had to work hard for. The love of a parent, the generosity of a friend, the beauty of a summer's day. Our challenge is to notice and esteem all the blessings we receive, whether we've earned them or not. When I work for something, I know how valuable it is. I will try to appreciate the value of the gifts I receive as well. I will try to appreciate the value of the gifts I receive as well. Allowing yourself to be totally present, totally right here in this moment. Loving yourself with one more full inhale breath. And exhale. Thank you for finding time to practice alongside me today. May you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.